And in fact, we are cutting across to visuals that we are getting from Droupadi Murmu, the President-elect's residence. Pictures on your screen are of M. Venkaiah Naidu over there wishing Ms. Murmu. She takes the oath of office on Monday. That's the 25th of July. She is the first president-elect from a tribal background, a woman president-elect from a tribal background. Of course, she won with a considerable margin of votes in the presidential elections that were held. We have, of course, seen leaders through yesterday and this morning go and meet Ms. Murmu to congratulate her on this feat. Now, Mrs. Murmu also happens to be the first Indian president who has been born after independence. She has, of course, been the former Jharkhand governor as well and has held various positions in the BJP. She was the NDA's candidate for the presidential elections, won by a huge margin. And in fact, the big headline-grabbing news yesterday was that a lot of people from the opposition also seem to have voted for her. So support coming for her across party lines. She takes oath of office as the new president of the country on Monday, that is the 25th of July. Droupadi Murmu, of course, has been the governor of Jharkhand. She has been the longest-serving governor, and she comes from a tribal district and is going to be the first woman tribal president of the country. So a leap in terms of not just women's emancipation in the country, but also the growth of all segments of society. Droupadi Murmu was the NDA's candidate for the presidential elections, and she did win by a considerable margin of votes, defeating Yashwant Sinha of the TMC. And we have, of course, been getting pictures since the morning of how senior leaders of cutting across party lines have been visiting Mrs. Murmu to congratulate her on her victory as the president. She takes oath of office on Monday. It's going to be a glittering ceremony to watch when the next president is sworn in. Do remember that Ramnath Kovind, the incumbent president, of course, his term ends on the 24th of July, and thereafter Mrs. Murmu will take over as the next president of the country. Madhurima, of course, is reporting on this. Madhurima, since yesterday, we've been seeing a lot of leaders cutting across party lines go and visit her, pay their respects to her. But also, you know, what this does bring out is that support for her was essentially cutting across party lines because, you know, we've been reporting since yesterday that there was a lot of cross-voting.
Well, absolutely, Nupur, and this is not surprising because even at the time her name was announced, Droupadi Murmu was a very desirable candidate. Looking at her entire resume and the line of work that she has done, as soon as her name was announced, we saw that the opposition was divided, where initially they were standing firm together. However, as soon as the tribal candidate Droupadi Murmu's name was announced, we saw how Shiv Sena, JMM and many other parties went along and supported Murmu's name. However, even after supporting the Murmu's name, the numbers that initially we had calculated increased because there was massive cross-voting. That only reflects on to the kind of career Droupadi Murmu has had and the kind of future she can promise for the country, and which is why massive cross-voting has happened for Droupadi Murmu. Now, as you were pointing out, that on 25th of July she will be taking her oath at the Central Hall in the Parliament itself. The Election Commission will be issuing a certificate for the NDA candidate, and the Home Secretary will read this particular certificate to Murmu at the oath-taking ceremony. So all of of that has been lined up. The Election Commission will be issuing that certificate today itself because it will be 24 hours, and within 24 hours the certificate is delivered, and that will be read at the oath-taking ceremony. And we've seen ever since yesterday there have been multiple celebrations all across the country, including massive celebrations erupting all across the national capital itself, from the Delhi BJP to other senior leaders. They have been visiting Murmu's residence ever since the election results were announced. The first was the Prime Minister, and then we saw the Defence Minister, the Home Minister, all visiting her at even in late hours, because it was a very big celebration, and with the major margin that she has won was unprecedented. And we saw how she very humbly received the accolades as she later on came out as well, met everybody, thanked everybody. It was indeed a very humble presence in front of the people, as she's going to hold the highest constitutional post in our country, Nupur. Yesterday it was all colors, and the celebrations continue. The visuals that we are getting from Droupadi Murmu's residence as well are very colorful. The celebrations continue because she is an extraordinary candidate and has enthralled.
Absolutely, Madhurima, as you're pointing out, of course, we've seen a long list of governors, cabinet ministers, chief ministers, as well as politicians cutting across party lines over there. But, just talking about her career, Piyush, now she has been, of course, associated with the BJP for a long time. She's also been the governor of Jharkhand. And we will now see the first tribal woman president take office on the 25th, Piyush.
Well, definitely, Nupur. Politics aside, let us just not discount how meritorious and how credible, Droupadi Murmu's journey has been. Let us also understand that she's been the first, woman graduate from her village, and she has come a long way, from being a just councillor to being a president. So yes, her journey has been arduous, her journey has been difficult, and her journey now has been, successful. So, there has been a lot of politics which has been surrounded, of her being first selected as the president, and now, being elected as the president. A lot of opposition candidates, tried to, malign her image, saying that she would be a rubber stamp president, she would not be taking the decision of her own. But let us just understand about the journey which Droupadi Murmu has taken, first by being the first woman graduate from her village in Odisha, to being a councillor, to being a governor, and then to being a president. So all these factors have to be taken into consideration of us trying to admire, trying to acknowledge of her journey, becoming the first woman tribal president, in our country. And even the opposition parties who cross-voted, realized this, they understood the political significance also of, electing her as the president. And that is why, despite, having differences with BJP, they did realize that it was important for them to vote for Droupadi Murmu. Since there was no whip that was, issued in this case, so they that freedom was given to them to vote for Droupadi Murmu.
Absolutely, Piyush. I just wanted to ask your camera person to show the visuals around you. You are at her residence, and you were talking us through her journey, and of course it's also been of personal tragedy that she's overcome to reach the highest office in the country.
Well, definitely, as you can just see the visuals over here, we are just outside Droupadi Murmu's residence. And yes, there are a lot of celebrations that are being taking place. Having said that, I want to tell you that, not only celebrations inside the house of Droupadi Murmu, but celebrations are taking all across the national capital and in different parts of the country, including Droupadi Murmu's native village, because this is a very inspirational journey. There has been a lot of sacrifice, lot of struggle which Droupadi Murmu has undergone to take this journey, and let us just admire this. We definitely, there has been a lot of politics that has been played over her, selection as a presidential candidate, and there is still many who are saying that, she would be a rubber stamp president, she would not be able to take decision of her own. But just take a moment to realize that how significant this journey actually is.